Me and Ailey met through a mutual friend in 2012 during a pub quiz at university. I was quite attracted to her and actually told her so at the end of the evening, but she told me she had a boyfriend even though she was flattered all the same. Fast forward 3 years later. I meet Eliza at the Edinburgh Fringe and we just clicked immediately. Politics, music, cinema, whatever the subject approached, there was a spark that I'd never felt with anyone else. Like she just made sense with me. Her personality was just vivid. It's hard to describe but I'll try. On first impression, she was so knowledgeable and enthusiastic, I was taken aback by her intensity. From that point onwards we were inseparable and I was dead certain of our future together long before we got engaged. Enter Ailey again. I start a new job at an advertising firm with a position in web design and she was one of the only people I knew. At first it was a little awkward given our history, especially considering that she was now married to the boyfriend she was dating back then. But there was no one else I knew at the firm and we both had partners at this point, so it couldn't hurt to be friends, right? And to be honest, I'm glad because I feel like our chemistry as friends superseded any potential we might have had as a couple. She's clever and has a bit of a cheeky personality. I'm quite dry and sarcastic myself, so I reckon we have a pretty fun dynamic. Eliza doesn't seem to feel that way, though. Sometimes when it's been the three of us she has expressed a feeling of being left out or that Ailey has been making fun of her. I don't see it, it's just our dynamic, but there have been a couple of nights where Eliza's been in tears because of something that Ailey has said. One time Eliza got out of her seat and Ailey sat down where she was sitting to show me a EO on YouTube. When Eliza came back in she saw Ailey leaning next to me and was upset for the rest of the night. Sometimes there have been times when Ailey has said something that Eliza has read as a come on. Like when I said I missed swimming because I felt out of shape, Ailey said the two of us should go together with a playful punch. Eliza didn't say anything at the time but her discomfort was visible. Things really came to a head though on our wedding and I think the stress of it really got to Eliza. During the reception Ailey bumped into her and red wine spilled all over her dress. She was bawling the entire evening. We're now on our honeymoon and Eliza has said she hopes for a fresh start but she feels like Ailey might have spilled her wine on purpose. She's suggesting that I cut ties with her and if I'm honest I'm not so sure I want to. Where do I go from here? Update 1. You know I posted here recently looking for guidance on how to deal with my wife's anxiety and hurt revolving around my friend and seems like I got read the riot act, probably rightly so. I have been completely inconsiderate of Eliza's feelings and how she feels about these roastings and you alerted me to the possibility that Ailey is doing this just to be a little shit. I sat down with Eliza and we had an in-depth conversation about the wedding incident. I got her to describe the event step by step in her own words. I was leaving the lobby into the dining venue and Ailey was a little tipsy at this point and already stumbling from the bar. She was initially walking slower but seemed to speed up when she saw me. We collided into each other and she pulled an ashamed face and made a joke about me looking like Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl before scurrying away. She seemed embarrassed in the moment but she didn't apologize to me. I heard from other people that she was appalled about what happened but I never heard anything from her directly. It just paints a picture of habitual microaggressors, science from her that has festered into this ugly anxiety whenever she's around. I pretty much predict whenever I'm in her vicinity, there will be weird behavior or uncomfortable comments and I don't want to continue being in a situation where my husband brings someone into my home, who resents me simply for existing. That was a real gut punch to me. For me I always felt like it was just insecurity about me fancying Ailey for 10 minutes yonks ago but Eliza is really torn up about this. She said that the honeymoon has been miserable because the memory has been swirling around in her mind and she feels like I'm going to downplay or dismiss it. No one should feel like they can't just be themselves, especially not at home. I didn't realize what a shithead I'd been and I apologized profusely to Eliza and decided to phone up Ailey to confront her about the wedding incident. So I did and it didn't go well. Basically I told her that Eliza was really hurt by the wedding dress incident, that she had been hurt by her behavior for a long time and that if she can't bring herself to apologize to Eliza's face at least she should pay towards getting the stain removed, and if she couldn't bring herself to even do that then our friendship had to stop. To say that Ailey was taken aback would be an understatement. She was completely blindsided, asking what was wrong with their interactions that made me want to go to such extremes. I mentioned the leapfrog comment and she went but even you call her that, stating that Eliza called her Garfield cause of her weight and bright orange hair. When I mentioned that she ran towards Eliza and didn't apologize for spilling wine on her, she got really upset and started shouting that she wasn't running at her to hurl wine at her dress. She was running from her because she didn't want to talk at that moment because she feels like Eliza hates her and she doesn't know how to go about it. She started pointing out times when Eliza had been foo-knee towards her and I basically said right, but this isn't about when Eliza has hurt you, this is about when you've hurt Eliza and it's got so bad that it needs to be talked about and she started laughing. It was really uncomfortable. I know she does this when she's anxious about something. Eliza asked me if things were okay from the other room and Ailey demanded if this was set up and when I tried to explain myself, she hung up. Her husband even phoned me, insisting that he would pay for the damage if it is less stressful for me. I told Ewan, husband, that I appreciated that, but I needed to know where Ailey stood regarding what I just said. Ewan told me that Ailey makes jokes whenever she's anxious or uncomfortable and that they've wrote about it in the past but the wedding dress incident is a major issue and that he wants to smooth things over as much as I do. So him and Ailey will pay towards dry cleaning, whilst a condolences hamper is sent to Eliza. Eliza was relieved that Ewan was so understanding, But she wasn't thrilled about Ailey's reaction. Basically said that the Garfield comment was always about her hair and never about her weight, and that she was deliberately trying to make it seem like the bad behavior went both ways. I don't think it's went both ways either, cause I've never noticed Eliza roasting Ailey in any real way. Eliza has suggested we try marriage counseling. I was a bit shocked at first because we've only been married a month lol. But I decided maybe that's the way forward, because if Eliza reckons that we need counseling for it, then it's clearly a problem. So yeah, me and Eliza are going to try marriage counseling, and my future with Ailey is uncertain. Update 2. So after the rightly deserved bollocking you gave me in the last post, you'll be happy to learn that Ailey and me aren't talking anymore, and it's probably for the best. Eliza and me received the condolences hamper in the post, and it was primarily soaps. Not in the sense of fragrant body lotions or luxury packages, or even organic bars, just regular, run-of-the-mill soaps. There were 2 dispensers that were faintly rose-scented, but it was so mild you had to really look for it. There were several white soap bars that didn't smell of anything. Really, it was so confusing. The only items that suggested it was a proper gift basket were a 6-pound bottle of Chardonnay and a box of Roses chocolates that looked a fair deal more effort than the cleaning equipment at the nearest pub. The weirdest item though? A pair of women's underpants. Not lingerie, not anything lacy or risque, just a plain pair of white pants. They were actually kind of grubby, there was a faint orange lining on them. It just didn't make sense to me, because if they were meant to be for Eliza, they were at least 6 sizes too big. And if Ailey really was making a move on me, they were again around 6 sizes too big. Also, why would she choose such disgusting pants to try and seduce me? It weirded me out so much I rang up Ailey, asking why I had soap and grubby knickers in our condolences hamper. She kept making dry remarks to her husband about there being a strange noise on the other end of the phone. I didn't get anywhere with her and insisted that Ewan should talk to me instead, because getting anywhere with her was like pulling teeth at this rate. After some disgruntled remarks, she passed the phone over. Ewan asked what was up, and I explained the whole situation. He was momentarily surprised when I described the hamper as looking like the luggage of a janitor that lived under a bridge. He said that it was a small package, but there should have been several luxury gifts that weren't simply sanitary items. Apparently there was a bottle of Chardonnay, a bottle of Shiraz, 1 box of rose chocolates, a Lindt bar, a selection of crackers, and some assorted cheeses. Somehow that got replaced with leftover soaps bought in bulk, and his wife fronts that Ailey found ever so hilarious, and apparently found ever so hilarious to send to my wife. He was hugely apologetic and embarrassed, stating that he'd pay us the cost towards the lost items. I was raging at this point, but I tried to be collected and said, right, let me talk to Ailey again please, and he got her on the line. I told her that she had the chance to make it right and she blew it, and she groaned and told me that Eliza's jealousy has crippled our friendship and she was sick of having to flatter her insecurities. I said no, you were Eliza's insecurities, and we rode for a bit. Eventually it ended with me saying that this had been building up for a while and that her attitude had been giving Eliza grief for years. Ailey said none of this would be happening if Eliza knew how to take a joke, and I just told her that a joke isn't ruining her wedding dress and then sending her your husband's stinky wife fronts. She said I sold out my principles for a girl who's threatened by other women. After the phone call, Eliza was not so much hurt as she was confused at first, because she was wondering if there was a mix-up until I explained to her the joke. She seemed pretty much resigned to the idea that Ailey would always be a shit, and I told her the likelihood of that happening was very slim considering she's cut me off for standing up for her. I think the counseling has made us stronger, and in a weird way I'm glad this happened. Because if your friendship falls apart the moment you try to protect your loved ones, then they probably weren't that strong friendships at all. Shame I won't be speaking to Ewan from now on, he's a top lad. Oop, I have apologized to Eliza, multiple times. I should have been more assertive with Ailey and told her to cut her shit out then. I'm aware that this is entirely on me for being permissive towards someone who was really just being a bully towards my wife. I'm trying to do better. Oop, I think it was because I saw it as lost in translation, like it was so mething that worked with me and Ailey but didn't with her, and assumed that she would figure that it was the sort of banter we encouraged and join in at some point. Eliza's from a very sincere, straightforward family that say what they mean and don't necessarily make jokes like I do. The whole idea would be lost on them and they would be really confused and upset thinking that we were actually insulting each other. Eliza's brother nearly jumped me once just because I said that's plenty when she was rambling on a little. That's a still game reference for the transatlantic pals across the world. I like it when she rambles, I think it's cute and it's a running joke between us. But he found it so personally offensive though, like he thought that I was just telling her to put a sock in it and started ranting at me for disrespecting his sister like that. Eliza started hiding her face in shame, it was that extreme a reaction. I think I should have been paying more attention though. Eliza told me that when she's tried to chat to her, Ailey's just been like I don't do small talk and they've sat in complete silence. Apparently when she tried to chat at another time she was totally non-committal and yawned so loud that it woke up our dog. I only found this out recently because Eliza didn't want to inconvenience me and I feel so ashamed of my behavior. I felt like there was just crossed wires, but Ailey really was bullying Eliza and finding creative ways to essentially make her uncomfortable and squeeze her out of our dynamic. I don't know why or how she thought any of that was appropriate, but it's irrelevant as my wife should never be scared of telling me how she really feels. Yeah, I work with Ailey. That is a complication that I hadn't considered. I wouldn't worry about her causing drama in the workplace because she values her job greatly, but I wouldn't be surprised about some passive-aggressive attitude being thrown my way. Oh well. I guess I'll have to wait and see what happens, but I'm uninterested in any form of reconciliation if she's going to be that disrespectful. Oop, I know she's already been disrespectful and that's what I'm realizing. That's why I'm not interested, because she's been treating my wife terribly for the longest time. Update 3. Tom and I have been together for 8 years, married for 2 months. He is handsome, funny, quirky and a wonderful conversationalist, just perfect for me really. We go dancing, jogging, visit galleries and cook together. He is so sensual and loving, it's astounding and there's never a dull moment with him. I'm fond of his mom and he has welcomed my folks as his own family too. We rarely argue most of the time, except on one topic. Tom had a close friend who on multiple occasions he's described as his best friend, let's call her Julia. Originally Tom tried to ask her out years ago, before he met me, but she turned him down. They bonded over work. They had back and forth that seemed impenetrable, as whenever I tried to join in, Julia would give me these droll, blank stares. She was somewhat flirtatious with Tom, stroking his bicep when he flexed it, suggesting they should work out together. She also made somewhat insensitive comments that have really upset me. Whenever I tried to bring this up, Tom hand-waved at his banter that I was overthinking, insisting that it was in good faith, but I was never so sure. I tried to chat to Julia one day when Tom left the room and she just muttered "I hate small talk" and started scrolling on her phone. Another time I was talking to her, she just muttered hum throughout the entire conversation in a very bored tone and demonstratively yawned. The final straw was when she escalated her behavior from immature jabs to a prank that was primarily done to humiliate me. It didn't physically hurt, but it was emotionally devastating in a way that caused so much hassle that me and Tom had to go to marriage counseling for it. He also more or less stopped talking to Julia because of it. At first he was really defensive and kept claiming Julia's behavior is primarily just edginess that I'm misconstruing as having more sinister intentions, but the marriage counselor has pointed out that his repeated invalidation has weighed on our marriage and its impact will take a while to be lifted, and that the primary way to heave that weight will be to trust my impressions if I believe that something is up. After a particularly heated counseling session, he was agreeing with a lot of the talking points our counselor was making, but he was still insistent that Julia had no feelings for him. I said that given her past behavior, it's very likely she holds some sort of torch for him regardless of whether she admits to it or not. He told me that I was reading too much into it and I was absolutely livid. It was as though he learned nothing from our sessions. To put it across to him more aggressively, I waved over a stranger in fitness gear, complimenting his muscles. I asked him where he worked out and when he answered, I told him we could meet up and work out together one day with a wink. When he left, Tom was enraged and demanding that I explain myself, but I told him that the explanation was right there in my behavior. He was furious, understandably so, but it was the only way he could understand the severity of my pain, to experience it himself. He then shouted that what I did was specifically done to flirt, whereas Julia was likely not intending that at all. I called bullshit, stating that it's the exact same thing, regardless of intention. If I'm perfectly honest, it frustrates me that even to this point he's still defending her months down the line. Am I being the asshole here? Oop wife, she damaged a dress of mine apparently on accident, and was too ashamed or embarrassed to apologize. When she was given the chance, she sent a disgusting present that made it finally sink in for Tom that she was re-eating me like sneaker residue. Afterwards Tom has been firmly no contact with her. Oop wife, I tried to omit details that Post was famous for, so I could receive advice uninfluenced by people's feelings on Tom, but yeah, people came up to me and spoke about it in person for a while. It was kind of uncomfortable. Now on to second story. Brothers reached out to me after years of abandonment, and although I have the opportunity to expose our crazy stepfather, I'm conflicted. I'm a 21-year-old male. I ended up in foster care at 9 years old because of the abuse I suffered at the hands of my stepfather, a man my mom kept choosing over me. Despite all the support and interventions that were supposed to protect me, my mom refused to kick him out. Even after she had a restraining order against him, she still let him back into our lives. Meanwhile, she went on to have 2 more children with this man, my half-brothers, who are now 19 and 16. It got to the point where it was obvious that no matter what she would keep letting him back into our lives and allowing me to be a scapegoat of anything that was wrong in life, and I ended up being removed. After I was removed from the home, my mom was allowed to keep and raise my brothers, as if nothing had happened. From what I know, my stepdad never laid a hand on them. My mom and this man are still together, I know because I've checked her Facebook more times than I'd like to admit. Growing up, it was devastating to realize that my mom would rather give me up than fight for me. She could have kept me if she'd just left him, but she didn't. This abandonment left me with deep scars and a lot of issues to deal with as I grew up. It didn't help that she cut off all contact with me almost as soon as I was placed in foster care. She wouldn't even show up for court-ordered visits. Foster care was also really rough for me. I bounced around 3 different families, and it wasn't until the last one that I got any therapy to help me make sense of what had happened. A few days ago, out of nowhere, I got a Facebook message from my 19 and 16-year-old brothers. They said they've been thinking about me a lot and want to get to know me. They even mentioned that our mom talks about me sometimes and wonders how I'm doing. They said he'd like to start some kind of relationship if I'm open to it. And 19-yo said he would be willing to drive him and 16-yo to come and visit me wherever I am in the country. They both seemed nice in this message, and I don't have an issue with either of them. At first, I was going to ignore the message because I don't want anything to do with my biological family. But then a darker thought crossed my mind: this could be my one and only chance to expose my stepdad for the monster he truly is. I could finally tell my half-brothers everything he did to me, everything he put me through, and let the truth come crashing down on them. I know that if I do this, it'll probably destroy any chance of having a relationship with them, but honestly, I'm not sure I want one anyway. I told my friend that I was thinking about doing this, and he said it's a really bad idea that won't accomplish anything I want it to. He said it will most likely just cause them to think I'm bitter and mean and won't make them have any issues with their dad. But, while I know it would be a difficult thing to process, I would want to know if my dad was like that. I would want to know the truth about how my dad treated other children. I don't know how much they know about why I was removed into care. Update 1. So, after thinking a lot about what everyone said and after having a session with my therapist, I realized that my initial plan to tell my brothers everything about my stepdad wasn't really about helping them. It was more about me still holding on to the anger and hurt from my past, and that's not fair to them. A lot of you pointed out that they probably don't know the full story and are innocent in all this. And honestly, that hit hard. I decided to reach out to my 19-yo brother and told him I'd like to meet up. I didn't mention anything about our mom or the stepdad situation. I figured if we were going to start a relationship, it's better to take things slow and not dump all that heavy stuff on them right away. We ended up meeting at a cafe. I was super nervous, but when I saw them, it actually felt nice. They were both really nice, and we just talked about normal stuff, like what we've been up to, our favorite football teams, that sort of thing. It was weirdly easy to chat with them. At one point, the 16-yo brother asked why I was placed in foster care. That caught me off guard, but I decided to keep it vague and just said that things were complicated at home back then, and that going into care was what was best for me at the time. 16-yo started pushing a bit for more details, but the 19-yo told him to knock it off, which honestly was a relief. By the end of it, I was glad I went. They asked if we could stay in touch, and I said yes. I'm still figuring out how much to share about what happened, but for now, I'm just trying to focus on building a relationship with them. I realize that while the past is important, it doesn't have to dictate how things go with them now. So yeah, thanks again to everyone who helped me see things clearer. I'm feeling a lot more hopeful about this, and I'm really glad I didn't just go with my gut reaction to tell them everything right off the bat.